Shavua Tov to everybody. Welcome to all of the alumni, as well as our Talmidim. I guess we have to call this a bittersweet evening, because we are officially wishing Rabbi Shoshan a farewell and hatzlacha in his future amazing work. That's bitter. It's very sweet because of the 12 years, sweet years we had together, as well as our knowledge that he's going to be making a major impact on Klal Yisrael. We've come a long way since that meeting that Rabbi Shoshan and Miriam and I had in his kitchen about 13 years ago in Los Angeles, where we, so to speak, sealed the deal. And it's been really an amazing amount of time, the contribution that Rabbi Shoshan has made to Dar Chinom institutions, Chappelle's, Midrash Rachel, as well as to all of the Talmidim that crossed our doorstep over those years, as well as ones who came before him. So Rabbi Shuster has been working with Rabbi Shoshan for 11 years. It's an amazing relationship, the synergy that the two of them brought to the chinuch and the hashgacha of the yeshiva, the cooperation, which is unique, and the impact and the way they complemented each other. I want to just say one word about Rabbi Shoshan. I'm not going to take away what Rabbi Shuster is going to have to say, I'm sure. But it's also a message for all of us. There's a Mishnah, Hevi mitalmidav shel Aaron, Oev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Oev Esabrios, Mekarvan LaTorah. So when you hear the last phrase, Mekarvan LaTorah, Kiruv, that's the business that we're in. It's the business that Rabbi Shoshan is going to amplify and expand and improve upon. And there are two questions. First of all, there are 3 steps before we got to the Mekarvan LaTorah. And the Maral also asks, why is Aaron HaKohen being brought into the discussion? The lesson is, Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Ohev Esabrios, Mekarvan LaTorah. Where does Aaron HaKohen fit in? And where do we ever see that Aaron HaKohen was an Ohev Shalom? So the Maral has a long treatise there about how the Kohen Gadol is the uniter. He's the uniter of the Jewish people. He unites them with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the last section there in the Marali explains that the reason we're being told to be mitalmidav shel Aaron HaKohen is that many people have lots of motivations for pursuing peace and wanting people to get along and even liking people and being mekarev them LaTorah. And he says Aaron's motivation was his pure ahava of people. And that was a necessary component for him to do the job of the Kohen Gadol, which was very hard work. But he loved people, and therefore when they weren't united, it bothered him. And when they weren't connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for their benefit and welfare, he wanted to do something. And Mekarvan LaTorah was also based on his deep love for them. But that's the last step. And it was manifested, the love is manifested by all the things he did before he was Mekarvan LaTorah. The fact that he cared about them and he cared if they have a problem, whether it's a marital problem or a social problem or a financial problem. And I think we could say about Rabbi Shoshan, the true love of people, the true love of every Jew is one of the things that radiated, and all of the things that he did for individual Talmidim, as well as for the yeshiva and for Midrash Rachel institutionally. It all emanated from a love of Jews, a love of Klal Yisrael, a love of Torah, and that's infectious. And we're going to miss that element of love. Rabbi Shuster is now going to have to play a double role. He's very much up to it, and we're very honored that he agreed to be the keynote speaker in honor of Rabbi Shoshan. And with that, we welcome everybody, and we'll ask Rabbi Shuster to address us.
Good evening. Welcome to everyone. To people who know Rabbi Shoshan as Dani, as Gidon, as Reb Gidon, Rabbi Shoshan, or Rabbi Shoshan. You're all welcome here as we join to really get together with him a very special time connecting so many of the people he was connected to. Now, to be honest, I was going to start off saying how honored I was to be asked to address this occasion. I wasn't really asked. At some point, I asked Rabbi Hirschfeld, when I saw that we were going to have this Malka, I said, so Gidon's going to give the address? He said, no, you are. Okay. Then the question came was why and what I was supposed to do in the format. Because I looked at the layout, you have Rosh Hashiva, Rosh Midrashah, all saying nice things about Rabbi Shoshan. And then there's me, and what format is it supposed to take? I could have asked the people in charge, but that wouldn't be fun and it could be limiting. So I decided to try to work it out myself. There are different things. Obviously, it's 120 years from now will be a time for the final summation. It's not a time for hespedim. Right? It's not really what you call a mesibas preda, which is where a few friends get together with some l'chaims and some herring, and you share things and such. That's not exactly what's happening here. So, and I was looking for precedents. In the world of yeshivas, it's hard to find, because oftentimes when one Rebbe in a yeshiva leaves, you can't find both sides wanting to talk to each other and get together. So it's hard to find a proper example to have a template to work with. So I actually went to the world of academia. My father may be well recently retired after 50 years of professorship in Tufts Medical School in biochemistry and pharmacology. He didn't want to party when he left. The only thing he agreed to was a symposium on some of his work. Right? I looked up some of his articles, like SAR of psilocybinolog's discovery of a selective 5H2L agonist and such. So there were a lot of articles like that, and different people in the field got together and they spoke about some of his work and how it influenced their work. So I think that's what we're going to do in the 15 minutes we have left. Welcome to the first symposium on the educational legacy of Rabbi Gidon Shoshan. Okay, so I'm going to do this by discussing some of the lessons and the midos that have come to me through the years that we've worked together and how they resonate in me, and I just let myself think about different thoughts, stories, divrei Torah that they awakened. First of all, as I mentioned in that subtle letter that I sent encouraging people to put in ads, a tremendous midah is the one of Hakaras HaTov, especially to people who taught in Torah. That's something that we're here for, really, to be able to express that. Over the years that I was with Rabbi Shoshan, it wasn't, sometimes people mention their main teacher. You have a main teacher, a main Rebbe. The menu of people Rabbi Gidon mentions throughout history, we're talking about elementary teachers from Chicago, right? High school teachers, people in Yeshiva HaKotel, people in other places, but it goes beyond that. It could be someone that he heard a shir from once. It could be a person who said something to him that caused the light bulb to go off and to change. And he remembered that and filed it. And this is the fulfillment of what we find in Pirkei Avos. Right? It says in Perek Vav, Mishnah Gimel, Lomin michavero perek echad, v'alocha achas, posuk echad, dibur echad, or afilu os achas, a person who learns from his friend, right? One dvar Torah, one halacha, one pasuk, one word, even a letter. Tzarich linod bo kavod. You have to treat that person with kavod, and kavod means appreciating the uniqueness of that person. This is part of how Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. We meet people, we come in contact with them, and we learn from them. And a person who really appreciates that is able to file it away. So I think that's one of the takeaways that we have to do in terms of being here, expressing this right now. Everybody can remember a favorite shmooze, a favorite one-on-one talk, a favorite something that really affected them and changed them. But to take that further, take that model and keep your eyes open for those people that you're going to be learning from. The place where it also applied so much is in the way that Rabbi Gidon teaches. We know that we say the person you can learn most from is your Talmidim. Mi Talmida Yosem Mikulam. The Talmud Rebbe said a very interesting chiddush in that. He said, Mi Talmida Yosem Mikulam is not just describing the experience of teaching that you can learn from your students, but it's actually a t'nai. It's a precondition for teaching. Because a student can sense if you don't think you can learn anything from them. And then suddenly the doors are closed. I discovered this years ago in Boston, so they brought a seed program to Boston. There was no kollel in Boston at the time. So it was a beautiful project that takes yeshiva guys to come and learn with people in the summer when yeshivas have ben azmanim. So I had a friend there, a brilliant guy, an astrophysicist, and he was set up with a young kid from a yeshiva to sit and learn, and I asked him how he liked it. He said, I didn't like it. I said, why? He says, well, every time I tried to say something about the Gemara we were learning, he would just kind of pat my hand and say, I'm going to explain it to you soon. And he felt totally shut out of the experience. When the Talmud understands that the Rebbe knows, you can teach me something new here. You can open my eyes to it in a different way. That's mi Talmida Yosem Mikulam. It's not just what the teacher can gain, but it's the entire educational experience. And because of that, there's also a sense of thanks to those who you teach. Rabbi Gidon has a sense of the privilege, right? He always mentions it, that he feels it was a great honor to teach this student, that student, or just to be in the yeshiva. I'd mentioned this once when it was Meir's bar mitzvah, and part of the different celebrations was bringing him to the yeshiva, and we had a Suda there, and I'd mentioned that part of the reason for that is he had taken him to his different rebbeim and different yeshivas, and he also took him to the guys in the yeshiva, because in certain ways, though, they're also his heroes and also his teachers. And that's what makes the teaching experience so fruitful, because people sense that, and everyone here knows and senses that, and that's something that we have to carry forward. Okay, now some of the techniques. One of the great Rabbi Shoshan catchphrases is narrate the experience. You must narrate what you're doing. So many times you would catch us in the yeshiva just kind of giving people instructions and not explaining what it's about in the bigger sense. So this brought to mind one of my favorite stories about Reb Shalom Shvadron. Reb Shalom lived here in Yerushalayim in the neighborhood of Shari Chesed, and his mother lived in Mea Sharim. So one day he was walking with a couple of his kids in Yerushalayim down the street, and he met a famous Musar personality, Reb Isaac Sher. Reb Isaac Sher was the son-in-law of the Alter Slobodka. He founded the Slobodka Yeshiva in Bnei Brak, and he saw Reb Shalom, and he said, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? So Reb Shalom answered, he said, some of my children are sick, so I'm taking these to stay with my mother. Again, he said, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? He thought he couldn't hear. He's an old man. He yelled in his ear, some of my children are sick. I'm taking these to my mother. Again, he said, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? He didn't know. He thought they didn't study biology in Slobodka. He said, I have sick children at home, germs. I'm taking healthy ones to my mother, sick children at my house. Again, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? He says, I give up. What do you want from me? He said, listen to what I'm asking you. Listen to what you're saying. You're saying your children are sick and you're taking care of them? Everybody does that. Cats take care of their kittens. Dogs take care of their puppies. What are those children you have there in front of you? Those are the next generation of Torah and mitzvahs in the world. That's Tzivos Hashem. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army, and you're telling me they're in danger and you're taking care of them. If you realize the significance of what you're doing, then it means so much more. So it is in each thing, each day-to-day thing. I saw a parallel story about Rabbi Isaac in another sefer. They said that a student in his yeshiva came over to him, said, Rebbe, I get a mazel tov. He says, why? He says, I'm a chassan, I got engaged. He said, why? He said, everybody gets engaged. It's a bad answer. He says, right? What do you plan to do? What does it mean? So narrating the experience is everything from, first of all, helping people be comfortable in an unfamiliar surroundings, approaching a yontiv they've never experienced yet, going to a levaya for some rabbi you never heard of in freezing temperatures for 2 hours, each thing which may be happening, to let them know what's happening and let them see the impact of it. Beyond that, there are levels even beyond. Shoshan is a person who's connected to the world of Hasidus, connected to the bigger picture of things, and there's a beautiful word from the Avnei Nezer that the Shem Shmuel brings many times. We're familiar with the concept that Jews can change what's called Olamus Ha'elyonim, that when we do a mitzvah, we change the world, we transform it. And Avnei Nezer asked a very practical question, is how? How do we do that? We don't even know where these things are. So he said there's a principle in the halacha, in the Gemara that guys are learning this year, Shlucho shel Adam kamoso, a person who's a shliach, who's an emissary of someone, has their powers. Who is our Mishaleach when we do Torah and mitzvahs? Say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kitshonu b'mitzvosav v'tzivonu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our Mishaleach. And that imbues us with divine powers. And I think that applies both into the mitzvahs as you would teach them, but also a sense of shlichus in life. Right? We got to sit for a while with Rabbi Shoshan and his family speaking about his father, and there's a heritage there of really seeing the bigger picture of Jewish history. of caring about the mission, that story of the Jewish people in the world, which came out in all sorts of different ways in his father's life and which is transferred on to the family and to his children. Perhaps along with that, something that he shared and obviously inherited is the joy of traveling. Shoshan is a very good traveler. He's a really good person to know if you're ever caught in a strange country at a strange time with a plane that's been canceled. And I had the privilege of traveling with him sometime and to see, but being a great traveler is much more than figuring out the ways of airlines and cheap hotel fares and getting through an airport in the best way. Being a traveler means being able to have a zest for things that are different, to see and to learn. Nachman Breslov says that just like people have an urge to travel, they should also have an urge to see different Sfarim, different approaches in Torah, and those things really parallel in Rosh Shoshan's life. That same zest and understanding of doing it is there. This is a lesson that, again, I learned from my Rebbe that told the Rebbe, he'd asked about the concept of Yoshev Oholim that we find with Yaakov Avinu. He said when you lay out the parallel of Esav and Yaakov, Esav was Ish Yodea, Tzayid Ish Sodeh. He was a great hunter, and hunting is a great skill, and you need tremendous amounts of knowledge to be a good hunter. And Yaakov seems to be Yoshev Oholim, person who sits in tents. He says there is a parallel. If you look at the word Oholim, plural, Yaakov Avinu knew how to go to the different tents of Torah, to his own father Yitzchak, to Shem, to Ever, to the different places, and to draw Torah from different places, to draw Torah from different sources. Just like the hunter has to know the ways of the different animals, the seasons, the climates, all these different things, a person of Torah has to be, that hunter has to be that traveler. But there's another level of it that I learned very much from Gidon. It's not just to be a traveler. Many people travel through the world, but they're going into a tour bus and taking pictures of things and eating McDonald's. To be a Yoshev Ohalim means that you're able actually to sit in those tents. You're able to be there. You're able to become part of it. You're able to be at home with it. In the world of traveling, I got to see it. I was with him the first trip at least that he drove in England. Right? That's a great challenge for those of us who are used to the other side of the world. Just a smile on his face as he was doing it, that functionality that was added, no longer having to schlep around in England, right, without a car. But then the idea that he can walk into different shuls, different patei medrash, different things, to Or Torah, to Eichenstein's, to Akotel, or to Mir, to Ner Yisrael, to Wayut, to Vishnitz, to be able to go into these places and to sit down and to join and to absorb, that's something he tries to project and to teach, I know, to his family and to the Talmidim. We often spoke about it, the concept of functionality. The greatest gift you can give someone, especially to our Talmidim and Talmidos, is the idea of being able to function, to know what's done, when and how, right? And to know to do it well. I mean, one nice lesson from his mother, right? I think when he had the talk with her, that so many of us had with our mothers, it can bring so much pain that we said we're going to be wearing a black hat. Right? It's a difficult talk to have, and as I heard it, if you correct me, is that the advice he got from me was, if you're going to wear one, get a nice one. Very important lesson that he tried to put on. And therefore, right, trying to get our Talmidim to be able to be functional in the different places, to know what's appropriate in the right places in the right way, to know what's done, but also to be prepared for things that aren't the way you expected. During Shurim, oftentimes we would tell Talmidim, expect the unexpected. Know how to not lose it when you go into a shul and they're davening a different nusach than what you've davened. Know to understand that if you go someplace where they follow a different shita and psak, that you're not all thrown. Be comfortable enough in the world of Torah to be able to maintain your balance, to be a citizen in the world of Torah worldwide, wherever you go out and wherever you get to. In a similar way, that enables him and inspires us to try and teach people where they are. There's a beautiful lesson from the Pnei Menachem, the previous Rebbe Zatzal, in this week's Parsha, where it says that Yaakov Avinu, in blessing Ephraim and Menashe, sikel es yodov. He crossed his hands so that it would be in the order that he wanted, and this was an idea of sikel related to seichel. There was some artistry going on, and the question is, why didn't he simply place Ephraim and Menashe, change their position so that they would be by the correct hand. Why change the hands? So he says everything Yaakov Avinu was doing was preparing for the future of Am Yisrael. And there would be many Jews in the future of Am Yisrael who are not where they should be. And the idea is that the bracha of Torah has to be stretched out to them where they are. You can't be limited to waiting until they're able to come to where you are in order to receive. You have to be able to reach them where they are. That's what he did with us. And now, with Olami, it's going to be a worldwide reach of trying to reach Jews in all sorts of places that can't be imagined to reach out in that way. I think a pasuk that sums up this whole idea of connectivity that we spoke about, connection to Rebbeim, connection to previous generations, connection to Talmidim, colleagues, Kehila, connection to Jews all around the world. It's a pasuk in Koheles. Ki mi asher yichubar al kol hachayim yesh bitochon. To be connected to all of life, to have a zest for life, to realize that life itself has so many lessons that can come. You can learn from something you see on your travels. To keep the eyes open, the sense of hashgacha pratis. Nothing is random. If you see something in an airport, if you hear something on the news, pay attention. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a reason for you to hear that. Think about it, absorb it, learn the lessons, and share them. That's the idea of chibur to the world. But along with that, one of his other important phrases, I don't think any of us should forget, is be holy. Many people take the concept of chibur to the world, of connecting to the world, and can get addicted to all the cool and fun things that we can learn from the world in all sorts of different ways, but to forget that kedoshim to you. That's the boundary. Rabbi Shoshan tried to remind us always. That's where it stops. If it's affecting your kedusha, it's affecting your holiness, if it's affecting your primary mission, then that's not for us. You have to find another way to get it. There are walls, there are gedorim, and the walls are there to foster growth, not to limit, but that enables you to become who you're actually supposed to be. And now in the couple minutes I have left, I have to steal a little bit for our own little personal bit. Again, we'll obviously have much more time to chat about these things. But the idea of chibur and a chaver tov, the example I wanted to bring was something Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said about the door of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. The Gemara is darshaning the pasuk, Isha Yiras Hashem Hitis Halol, and they say this is the door, this is the generation of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. In that generation, they said Shisha Miskasim Batali Sechad Voskim Batorah. 6 people would cover themselves with one talis and be involved in Torah. Some people explain it as, look at that, even though they were so poor, they only had one talis, they kept learning Torah. Reb Chaim said something different. He said, only when you have that special sense of achdus, anybody who's ever had a blanket war with somebody, I don't know if anybody had to share a blanket with someone, and there's that constant little tug of war to try and get more blanket at your side. 6 people in one talis, everybody's trying to cover themselves with the talis, it just ain't going to work. But if people have that togetherness and they're each worried about the other person being covered, somehow naturally that can work. So there weren't 6 of us in our little office. There's only the 2 of us, right, in our little cave which was there. But from the moment I arrived, we somehow had this unconscious dance that enabled us to work together with joy and peace for so many years. To keep each other's privacy on one hand, to share things when we needed to have a sense of what's for him and what's for me and what's for both of us, to have our different little plots and schemes to deal with each other's idiosyncrasies, the chestnut diet, my potions and pills and powders prescribed by my nutritionist, all the different things that were there, the ability to do this with a sense of joy and fun and support for each other. That was at least shtayim miskasim b'tali sechad. And even though the talus is getting wider and broader, I look forward to being under that talus with him as we continue to do things together for the greater good of Am Yisrael. I look forward to the future symposiums because there's going to be so much more to learn. This is just simply a tiny taste. Should hopefully give you thirst for more. Follow Rav Shoshan and his teachings as they go on, and I'll be enjoying together with you.